Imagine you're sitting in a quiet, remote forest in Pennsylvania. The air is still, the only sound the distant call of a bird, until the sky suddenly breaks. A massive wingless object, looking more like a fallen star than a machine, screams through the atmosphere and slams into the earth with a violence that shakes the ground for miles. In the wreckage of this advanced scout ship, a man survives. He wakes up in the dirt, surrounded by the smell of burnt ozone, scorched pine needles, and the hiss of cooling metal, but he has no idea who he is. He doesn't know his name, he doesn't know where he is, and he doesn't know why he was in that ship. This is how we meet Nicholas Danson. To the locals who find him, he's a man who has miraculously survived a terrifying crash. As he recovers, he is reunited with his wife, Beth, who has spent the last 13 months mourning him, believing he was dead. But as they try to rebuild their life, something feels deeply wrong. Nick is physically there, but his mind is a battlefield. He's plagued by visceral, terrifying nightmares of a life he doesn't remember, visions of being a soldier named Laws fighting 9-foot-tall aliens on a distant, war-torn planet called Thista. He feels like an actor playing a role in a play he never auditioned for, trapped in a life that feels like a costume he can't take off. As Nick struggles to find his footing, a local detective named Nolan Brice begins pulling on a thread that shouldn't exist. While investigating the crash site, Brice finds a personalized Belova watch. It's a beautiful physical piece of evidence, but it presents a massive paradox. The watch belongs to Nicholas Danson. Yet Beth insists that Nick has never even flown a plane, let alone been involved in a high-stakes aerial crash. When you combine that impossible watch with the discovery of high-tech nuclear-powered wreckage hidden in the woods, it becomes clear that this isn't just a plane crash. It's a conspiracy that defies the laws of aviation and logic. The tension ramps up when Nick and Beth are forced to flee. They're being pursued by mysterious men in a black Chevrolet, and the sense of being hunted becomes overwhelming. During this flight, Nick starts discovering things about himself that don't fit the Nick persona. He finds he has instinctive, expert marksmanship skills, a cold, calculated precision with a weapon that a simple artist should not possess. The breaking point comes when he finds a selective service card for Nicholas Danson. The card describes a physical scar on the man's body, a specific mark of identity. Nick looks at himself in the mirror and realizes he simply does not have it. The realization hits like a physical blow. He is an imposter. He is living in a body that isn't his, under a name that isn't his, and the man he is supposed to be is someone else entirely. The mystery reaches a violent climax when Detective Brice, driven to the brink of madness by the impossible reality of what he's uncovered, vanishes. In the chaos of a confrontation, Nick is knocked unconscious, and the dam finally breaks. The amnesia vanishes, replaced by a flood of true, terrifying memories. He is not Nicholas Danson. He is First Spacer Laws, an elite agent of the Spacer Empire. We learn that Laws was surgically transformed and placed on Earth to live as a human. This wasn't a simple disguise, it was a profound biological alteration designed to allow him to blend in perfectly. His mission was simple but profound: monitor Earth's atomic and technological progress to ensure human development didn't disrupt the galactic trade routes used by the Spacers. To the Spacers, humanity is viewed much like we might view livestock. A primitive species that needs to be managed and kept in check so they don't interfere with the larger cosmic economy. We are cows, in their eyes, useful or perhaps quaint, but certainly not equals. As Laws, he was supposed to be a silent observer, a ghost in the machine of human society, but the human experience has left him compromised. He feels a confusing, deep-seated love for Beth, the woman he was meant to merely mimic to maintain his cover. However, his encounter with Gila, the daughter of the Spacer Commander Zark, pulls him back toward his true identity. Gila represents the stability, the heritage, and the future of his own kind. He finds himself caught in a mesh-like web, torn between the duty he owes his empire and the human emotions he has accidentally cultivated during his time on Earth. In a desperate attempt to prevent a catastrophe, Laws tries to orchestrate a diplomatic solution. He wants to facilitate a peaceful trade between the two worlds, and as part of that plan, he tries to help the real Nicholas Danson and Detective Brice escape from Spacer custody. But humans are volatile, especially when faced with the incomprehensible. A plan falls apart when the traumatized, terrified Brice reacts with sudden violence. A shootout erupts in the sterile, high-tech corridors of the starship, and in the crossfire, Brice is killed, a victim of his own inability to process the cosmic truth. The situation turns from a diplomatic mission into a frantic escape. Laws realizes he can't save everyone, so he makes a choice to save the man whose life he has been stealing. He forcibly rescues the real Nicholas Danson, knocking him unconscious to ensure he survives the coming chaos. A high-speed chase follows, as Laws maneuvers a scout ship through Earth's atmosphere, dodging Terran military vessels and using the thick cloud cover to mask his escape. It's a desperate dance between a superior alien technology and the determined pursuit of human military forces. He eventually lands in a remote clearing and brings the unconscious, real Nicholas Danson to a cabin where Beth is waiting. This is the moment where the layers of the story finally settle. It turns out, Beth wasn't as oblivious as she seemed. She knew the truth all along. The emotional weight of her knowledge adds a layer of tragedy to the story. She loved the man who was an imposter, while knowing the real man was gone. To prevent an all-out interstellar war triggered by this contact, a Tehran agent named Cartwell arrives to coordinate a massive global cover-up. The truth is buried, the wreckage is scrubbed, and the status quo is maintained through a carefully managed lie. The story ends on a bittersweet note. Laws, having fulfilled his immediate duty but unable to stay in the world of the woman he loves, returns to the stars. He leaves the human world behind, but he leaves with a promise: he will return when the two races are finally ready to coexist in peace. When we look at the heart of this story, it's really an exploration of what makes us who we are. The book asks whether our identity is defined by our biological essence, our memories, or simply the roles we play in the eyes of the people around us. For most of the story, we think we are watching a man try to find his soul, only to realize he is an alien agent who has been surgically altered to appear human. It challenges the idea of the self by suggesting that if you can perfectly mimic a human life, if you feel the love, the fear, and the grief of a human, at what point does the mimicry become the reality? Does the surgical mask eventually become the face? There is also a heavy, somewhat cynical look at the God complex inherent in advanced civilizations. The spacers aren't necessarily evil in the traditional sense, but their perspective is so vast that human life becomes a secondary concern, a variable to be managed for the sake of galactic commerce. It's a chilling thought that our entire history and our most significant technological leaps might just be something being monitored by a cosmic landlord to make sure we don't make too much noise. It reduces the human struggle to a matter of zoning laws and trade routes. The narrative uses the trope of amnesia to peel back the veil of perception. It suggests that the mundane reality we live in, our jobs, our marriages, our daily routines, is just a thin skin over a much larger, much more complex cosmic truth that we aren't quite ready to face. The ending, with its massive cover-up and its forced peace, suggests that perhaps humanity isn't ready for the truth. It implies that for a civilization to survive its first contact with the gods, it might require the suppression of the very facts that define our understanding of the universe. In the end, we're left with a sense of profound isolation. Laws is a man caught between two worlds, belonging fully to neither. He has the memories of a soldier and the heart of a lover, but he is a creature of duty. As he heads back into the blackness of space, he leaves behind a world that will never truly know what happened in those Pennsylvania woods, leaving us to wonder if the peace we enjoy is built on a foundation of necessary lies.